Is there a better bike than a Harley Davidson? Let's get into this one. Welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're all well. Just enjoying a lovely Sunday afternoon ride. Just headed down to a cafe near me, and there's a plethora of bikes out there. And had a lovely chap come up to me and ask me about the Sport Glide as well, what I thought of it and all that kind of good stuff as well. And for me, I'll say, well, I'm biased because I like it. You know, I love the bike. But I kind of think, actually, are there better bikes out there? Are there better Harleys than that Harley? Well, possibly not. But are there better bikes? Are there better brands out there? Again, possibly not. But if you had to ask me, is there a better bike on the market than that? I would say, yeah, of course there is. There's definitely a better bike than that. But I suppose it depends what kind of bike you want, what kind of riding you're going to do, how fast you want to go. Are you going on a tour? Are you carrying passengers? What about the looks of it? What about the feel of it? What about the sound of it? What about just the kind of street cool factor, if you even consider that? Are those things important to you? Now, I know for a fact, there are better riding motorcycles out there. No doubt. I've ridden them. I think there are some fantastic other bikes out there that just ride fantastic. Suspension, engine performance, the way they handle in the bends, the braking, anything that you can think of tops a Harley Davidson, or tops that Harley Davidson, tops that Sport Glide. But still, they're not the bike for me. Still, they're not better than that when it comes to that kind of feeling that you get, that kind of riding experience. So as I just said to a guy just now, if you're ever thinking about, you know, buying a Harley or buying a Sport Glide, but buying a Harley Davidson, just go and ride them. Just go and try one and see what you think, because, and that's the same for any bike, isn't it? You can watch as many videos as you like, but until you actually ride that bike, you'll know if it's for you. As I said many times before, riding that Harley, I knew within a couple of minutes, within 5 minutes, that was the bike for me. It was the kind of experience, it surprised me. I loved the way it rode, I loved the way it was in the bends, very un-Harley like of the past, I thought, and it was great. But did it compare to any of the previous bikes, like the Sports Tourers or the sporty bikes, or even the big ADV bikes that I had before? Did it compare with those? No way in hell is it better than those in terms of actual riding, technical riding capability. But was it a better riding experience? Absolutely it was. And I've said this before, it's probably the best connection I've ever had with a bike. So is it the best bike I've ever had? Well, yes and no. That's the honest answer. Yes on some levels, but definitely no in other aspects. And that's the same for all bikes, isn't it? You know, you could say, oh, that bike is so much better than that bike. Well, that's your opinion. That's because it's a subjective thing. It's how you feel about it. You could say that bike is faster than that bike, or that bike has got better quality suspension than that bike. But really, until you ride it, you'll know which is better for you. Now, of course, there's a lot of people out there who buy motorcycles and it's got nothing to do with engine performance or the way it looks, or, you know, all those things that you think are really important. For some people, they just want a bike that's a commuter, that is reliable and gets from A to B, no fuss. They can strap stuff to it, carry stuff, you know, all that kind of stuff. They don't really care. It's more of a tool rather than a pleasure instrument, for want of a better word, of course. But for others, it is all about the way it looks, the way it sounds, the way it rides, and, you know, how fast you can go, how good the braking is, how good the suspension is, or just how it looks and sounds. But I've got to say, there's one thing for me, one metric, I suppose, how I gauge a bike, and it's not necessarily how it looks, it's not how it sounds, it's not how it rides or anything like that. It's kind of how I imagine other people looking at me on the bike and what kind of an impression that I give them, which sounds really weird, I know, but let me kind of explain. If, let's say, I love small bikes, right? I think all bikes are great, and I love small bikes as well. I think I've got a lot of time for them, especially in built-up areas or riding off-road and all that kind of stuff. Great bikes. But my size on a small bike, I look like a bit of an orangutan, right? I just look, it's just too, they don't fit me. So the way the bike fits me physically is an important thing, and so how I look on it is an important thing to me. Not necessarily because I care what other people think, it's just the way I feel on the bike and I look on the bike. That's kind of important to me. I've got to say, since I've been riding the Harleys as well, and also in previous Triumphs as well, that kind of road appeal or street appeal or curb appeal, I suppose, that is quite important to me as well. How other people, you know, view your bike, I think that is quite nice. You know, other bikes that I've had in the past, people don't come up to me and say, oh, that's a really nice bike, whereas this, they do. Now, I'm not saying that's really important, but it kind of adds to that feeling of being on a bike and being on something that people want to look at, if you know what I mean. Or it turns heads where it's parked, or it turns heads as it rides by. That kind of has become important to me, and this is what I've said in the past, you know, where bikes have character or personality, or there's a bit of soul there, or whatever you want to call it. With Harleys and things like that, you kind of get that, whereas with really advanced bikes, or, you know, sports bikes and stuff, I just don't get that same feeling, that same association. Now other people might do, they might have that same feeling or same sensation or same relationship with those bikes. I just don't. So it comes back to it again, doesn't it? It's purely an individual thing, it's a subjective thing, and all I could say is, if you're interested in a bike, go and ride it. That's the number one thing. Don't listen to anybody else, just go and ride it, and see if it fits you, and see if it fits in with the kind of riding that you want to do. Are there better bikes than a Harley? Are there better bikes than my heroic Harley? Yes, there are, no doubt. But are there better bikes out there for me? That's an interesting question. I don't think so. I don't think so. But you never know. Could it be another Harley? Could it be a BMW? Could it be a Triumph? Could it be a Kawasaki, Suzuki? Suzuki? You never know. But for now, me and the heroic Harley are like that. 2 peas in a pod. 2 spoons in a jam jar. 2 knobs of butter on a cracker. You get the point. But warts and all, sometimes they're great, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they, you know, drive you to despair. Other times they fill you with joy and put a big cheesy grin on your face. But whatever it is, each bike is different, and each bike can fail on you, can be great one day, can be a pig the other day. But on the whole, just find a bike that suits you, I suppose. But there's always going to be a better bike out there, and there's always going to be a worse bike out there. It really depends what you like at the end of the day. Right, let us know your thoughts. Let us know your thoughts about the Harley Davidsons. Are there better bikes out there? Indian, I hear you say. BMW, I hear you say. Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Catch you again. Ta-ra.